Welcome to the gold standard, Making Millions with Malia, the place to be for conscious CEOs and light leaders who know that they have an enormous mission that requires millions to fuel it. I am your host, Jennifer Longmore, Clear Channel for Mother Malia, along with being a long-standing 8-figure CEO, investor, and board advisor who is committed to creating as many conscious millionaires as I can in this lifetime, and to debunk the broke healer paradigm that tells you it is not benevolent to make millions doing spirit-led work. We are in the midst of individual and collective ascension, and as we ascend, so must the way that we do business and money as light leaders. That is what this show is all about. So tune in now and find out why we are ranked in the top 5% of global podcasts and why savvy CEOs just like you binge our show each week and share it as a high-value resource with their communities. Now let's dive into today's Making Millions broadcast. Hello and welcome back to the Gold Standard podcast, Making Millions with Mother Malia. As you know, I am Mother Malia, and we are right now in what I will call our trauma series. And although I at times hesitate to use the word trauma, I know that you are here because you have already done a lot of personal development and personal transformation. And so you recognize that trauma is actually a big part of what is going to determine whether you feel like you are, moving towards your goals the way you will like, or whether you feel that perhaps every day is Groundhog Day, or you feel like you are chasing your tail, or you feel stuck, or whatever the feeling is. And frankly, you are bang on, when we are doing all of the things, when we are doing the inner work, and things still aren't moving the way we know they can, and the way we see it perhaps even happening for others, that is a really good indication that we shall at least explore whether trauma is there to be explored. And frankly, we live in a world that perpetuates trauma, as we know. We have a lot of divide and conquer tactics. We essentially are in a frequency war. And so it stands to reason that if we are going to raise our frequency, that means releasing the things that are keeping us frozen in time so that we can move beyond, so that we can ascend, etc. And so today we are going to talk about how to turn being raised by a physically or emotionally distant parent into gold. So examples of this might be being raised by a single parent, by no fault of their own, of course. They are in a situation where perhaps they are working very long hours, and perhaps even if they are not, they are spent and they simply are not available, even emotionally, perhaps physically. Perhaps their nervous system is taxed. Perhaps they they are not able to regulate. Perhaps they are reactive, etc. There can be a lot of ways that that plays out. But what you learn from a single parent, for example, or even an ill parent who it's not that they don't even want to be there for you. It is that perhaps they are in the hospital a lot. Perhaps they are, in a dark room with long-standing migraines. Perhaps they are recovering from very severe illness in a bedroom and are to not be disturbed. Perhaps they are a military parent that is on assignment a lot. Perhaps they are in any kind of law enforcement, frankly, where they are on extended duty, I shall say, where they are away for long periods of time. Perhaps it is being adopted, where it's a slightly different, but the effect can be the same, of course, where you don't really know where you come from, but you have awareness that you don't really belong anywhere. It feels like you don't belong anywhere. And then, of course, having an emotionally distant parent where they are there, but they simply are not available. However that plays out for you, that will play out in your money, where you will feel like money is just simply not showing up for you when you ask for it to. You might feel abandoned or rejected by it, or it is there for you, but you feel like, why aren't you providing for me? Or why do I have to beg you so much for your attention, kind of a thing, And this is very common. So naturally, when we are, well, for example, if we are raised by a physically distant parent, let's say they are ill or they are a single parent, regardless of whether you might feel they are very loving and so on, or whether they also have some other complications that make them not, let's say, the funnest parent to be around. What you will have learned at a very young age is to not be a burden to that parent, that your mere presence is a burden to them, that they have to work harder just to provide for you. They might even be telling you that your parent is sick. And so perhaps if there's another parent in the home, they are constantly telling you, don't bother your parent. They are recovering. Go make your own sandwich. Go look after your siblings. Go entertain yourself. Be quiet. Don't make any noise. Don't laugh. You will wake your parent. Don't ask for too much. You are not the priority right now. If you keep doing this, it might actually harm your parent or kill your parent, you know? And so, whether that is intentional or not, there can be the weight of so much guilt. What am I doing that is a burden? Oh my goodness, at any moment, I might make my person or my parent worse. I am a burden to them. My very existence is a burden to them. And so, and even for children that are adopted, they say, oh, unless they know their birth story, and even at that, they might still perceive it however they choose to perceive it. But if you don't know the full story, you might say, well, clearly I was unwanted. I don't even know what it is about me. My pure existence is undesirable. I am such a burden to my parents that they didn't even want to keep me. I was too much. I was too much of a burden. Or I was not good enough. You see how the good, not enough, and good enough play out very well. And then, of course, we see that in money. I don't have enough money, or I have to do more for it. I never have enough, or I am too much, or I can't call in too much money because that will feel like a burden to me. When all along, it boils down to I am a burden. So here we are sitting in the awareness of, oh, yes, I can see how that affects my ability to run my business. Because if you are burdened, the last thing you are going to feel comfortable doing is making sales. I don't want to bother people. I am already a bother. I don't even know what I do that is a bother, but I am a bother. And so me, having the audacity to host a master class and give people tons of value, me having the audacity to respond to someone who has specifically asked for more information of how they can buy from me, etc. You know, the brain, the unconscious wound will say, oh, you are a bother. And you will contract. Perhaps you will undercharge or overgive. Perhaps you will just push people away because you are so afraid of being rejected, especially when you are completely unclear about what is going to justify people abandoning or rejecting you. So it is not impossible to make money. It is that it will be harder to make money, harder to attract clients, because until you clear the pattern of I am a burden, I am a bother, so many business activities that are going to be income generating activities you will avoid, like pitching yourself to podcasts and summits, inviting people to your free and paid offers, inviting people in to work with you. I had discovered not that long ago, because I also had this. I share this not from a place of pity. I have great neutrality around it now. But when I was in my human, growing up, my parents were always telling me how much it cost to raise them, constantly telling me how much it cost to feed me, showing me grocery bills, showing me bills for clothing, etc. And every year, my dad will do the taxes, and he will, upon doing them, he will have me look at the fact that I am a burden and say, I will just like you to see how much it cost me to raise you this year, how hard I had to work, how much overtime I had to work in order to make sure that you have this life that you have. And so you can imagine the toll that that took. My point is, even not that long ago, I realized even when I invite team in, I was not leading my team. I was attracting the team members that will match that, where they're not really there to support me. It is kind of my job to figure out how to make it easier for them to support me because, of course, I'm a burden. So then I will approach it more from a place, even just an unconscious undercurrent or a semi-conscious undercurrent of, I hope I'm not bothering you. I hope you don't mind. Or can you do me a favor? Because I was trying to soften the fact that, well, I must be a burden. Of course, this was completely unconscious, but you can imagine how the caliber of team members that one will attract with that energy, because we will attract helpers instead of expanders. We will attract people that think they're doing us a favor. And of course, when people think they're doing us a favor, they get to work on their own timeline when it is convenient for them, because of course it is a favor. You see, they'll deliver things when they feel like it. They will not, if they don't meet a deadline, well, it doesn't matter because they're doing you a favor, you see. And you can see the cost of that, the immediate and long-term cost of that, the inefficiencies, the way that it slows down the ability to make money with greater ease in the company, etc. So even for me as a 8+ figure CEO, I will still find these things where how they play out. I used to soften my messaging much more and be almost apologetic when I will reach out. And then imagine, I mean, we all are on the receiving end of that, right? It doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of feeling the frequency of apology in an invitation to work with us. And yet I was doing that. And of course, we all know that, we can feel the frequency behind all emails and posts, can't we? And so it is not surprising then that people that wish to buy from us can also feel the frequency, the undercurrent. And this is why, for example, it is so important to clear this, because once you clear this trauma, then all of a sudden your exact same content that you have written that is wonderful. You could have 10 award-winning copywriters look at it and say, oh, this is the best copy I've ever seen. It will not convert if there is a frequency of I am a burden, I don't want to bother you, I am not worthy, I'm afraid of you, whatever you might be unknowingly, of course, embedding in the content as a frequency. As soon as you clear that, all of a sudden, every day people are in your inbox from your content saying, how can I work with you? All of a sudden you have 5-figure days, 6-figure days. All of a sudden you are getting invites to summits or podcasts, etc., or speaking gigs that usually are reserved for, like you maybe will have to go through a significant gatekeeping before you will even be considered. And all of a sudden you cut to the front of the line, so to speak. All of a sudden, the excess marketing you felt that you were doing and the excess convincing to work with you, all of a sudden dissipates. And your programs fill with ease. All of a sudden, you notice your numbers dramatically go up in your free and group invitations, etc. That is how we turn it into gold. You have built what you have from these experiences, and that is the beauty of that. You will likely have felt that you needed to prove that you were not a burden. It likely puts you into overdrive. And I'm not saying that is healthy, but that is something that can happen. The other way it can play out is you completely check out of life and business, you kind of throw your hat in the ring and say, I am already a bother. I don't want to burden any more people with my mere presence. I'm not even going to punish them, so to speak, by bringing my energy to their doorstep. And of course, the business really never gets off the ground, or perhaps we never get beyond a 10K months, etc. So, but for the most part, if you're a high achiever, especially, and if you're listening to this podcast, I imagine you are, then it usually plays out as overperforming to overcompensate, of course. And so we can make a decent amount of money. We can get even to 7 figures with that. But after that, it is pretty challenging to get to 8 figures without that being shifted. And you can even hear from me, there still can be residual. And so in clearing this, it's not even about, trying to make everything easy, although that is the desire. It is about allowing things to flow the way they are always meant to. It is about really stepping into maximum impact and minimum effort. So I hope this served you today. I hope it has given you some insight about what might be causing you to have some, snafus, I will say, in client attraction, or the caliber of clients you're calling in, or the income plateau you might have been feeling like you're at for a while, or that perpetual feeling, of course, which is pretty common for entrepreneurs, that you are behind, that feeling of I'm always behind. So if this has served you, I would love to hear exactly how it serves you. And also if you can share this with those that you feel will benefit. And then, of course, if you would like to have support in really making 2 times more money, if not more, on demand, having it be far easier, having us create fun cash injections that don't actually elicit another trauma response, releasing any conscious or unconscious trauma that might be capping your income or your client attraction, please reach out and find out what options I have available for you. You can either message me on the social media channels that you may be connected with me on, or email clientcare@souljourneys.ca, and someone from my team will gladly reach out and start the process of sharing information with you. So thank you for being here. It is my great honor and joy to be here with you and pour this information into you like liquid gold. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Before you go, if you would like to have a chance to have your name and business featured on the Gold Standard podcast, hop on over to where you listen to this podcast and leave a review. If you're selected, you'll have your name and business featured on our show. And in the meantime, we wish you tons of financial blessings, and we'll see you soon for the next Making Millions transmission from Mother Malia.